We ask if Ghana should be concerned about the continuous drop in price.
Also, workers at the Axelway station across the Ashanti region protest mismanagement and poor leadership as they down tools. Well, live there for details.
It's News Central live on TV3. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, the anti-LGBTQ plus bill is back on the front burner in Parliament. Minority members are now accusing government of deliberate tactics to avoid passing it into law. The bill was advertised on Tuesday when the House reconvened, but it was missing the next day with claims that the Speaker was not aware of its reintroduction.
Leader indicated during a media engagement with the press corps that the anti-LGBTQ bill was passed by the last parliament and was sent to the presidency, and so there is no need to reintroduce it.
My recollection is that it was passed by parliament already, and the issue was giving it a presidential assent. So that is where it should be taken up. I don't see why anybody should bring us a bill that we have passed already. I think the step is to push for it to be given the assent.
If you maintain that it was passed and so ordinarily it shouldn't be brought back, how do you just oppose it, knowing that ordinarily it must have died with the 8th Parliament? Again, Leader, you supervise the business committee, so how did it feature on the order paper if you claim you were not aware?
I was at business committee. You were at business committee. Was it discussed? No, it wasn't discussed. Now, the Constitution says that if a bill is not passed and then the life of the Parliament expires, then it lapses. But this one was passed. If you don't resolve the question of what is the legal effect of our having passed it, it will be difficult to take it again on the floor.
It did not end there. During the proceedings in the chamber, the first deputy minority whip, Habib Idris, raised the question about why the bill was featured on the order paper the previous day, but is missing the next time.
When we drew the attention of the Speaker to the advertisement, he indicated that he did not recall approving that it should be advertised.
The minority leader, Alexander Afeomaken, then rose to his feet and argued that this government has no option than to pass the bill into law.
Only yesterday, when we're raising this issue, Mr. Speaker, you were saying that the bill must pass. Now you are in government, you are in the hot seat. When the IMF, the World Bank, IPU threatening, you are now running away, you are saying procedure. Which mistake? There was nothing administratively in error. You force LGBT on the throat of the Akufo-Addo government. Today, you don't want LGBT. You would want it. Mube pepa. Mube pepa, papa, papa, papa. You use it to win election. Now, when your stakeholders, the international community is warning you, you want to run away. Run to where?
Lead proponent of the bill, who doubles as NPP's MP for Asin South, John Ntimfojo, then addressed the press and accused government of deliberate tactics to delay the passage of the bill into law.
We on the minority side of Parliament are very disappointed in the NDC government for their shameful shifts in position on a matter that is very important to 93% of our population, as per Afrobarometer survey conducted. We are asking NDC government, where is the Human Sexual Rights Bill, which had gone through all the processes and approved? Today, the majority leader is telling us that Speaker is not aware. The clerk is not aware. And the first deputy speaker is saying he's not aware. But he chaired the committee that approved this bill as private members' bill. This goes clearly to indicate that there seems to be a clear attempt by NDC government to run away from this bill. We are demanding that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill be passed now. Be passed now. And not deferred to any other time.
That debate is on, and we're going to subject it to a bit more in terms of analysis. Christian Malmhese is a private legal practitioner, is joining us via the phones. And you've heard in one breath the minority pushing that it be passed now. In another breath, the majority leader arguing that, look, the bill was passed in the 8th Parliament. He does not see why, or the reasoning as to why it must go through the processes again. Where do you stand on the argument as to whether or not this bill should be going through the processes again for its passage, and those who say that it's already been done?
Yes, good afternoon to your viewers alike. I hold a humble view. I mean, these are matters of constitutional law. Now, we have a bill at hand which it started from the very basis of it. It went through the drafting and introductory stage. It was followed up through the committee stage, where an invitations were made to general public to do presentations or to write and to put in petitions or any other literature material that could use to augment the bill. Then from there, after they finalized their work, we moved to the parliamentary debate and voting, where we saw the second reading and then the consideration stage. Then there was the third reading of it to further iron out any issue. Then it moved on to the constitutional limit, which is for presidential assent. Now, at that particular stage, it is for the president to assent his signature to the bill, so to finalize the constitutional path. But unfortunately, the Nanado-led government failed to assent the bill, which had already been passed. Now, the position of the law is that where the president fails to assent, indeed, the president during that time could refer it to the Council of State to give comments on it, and a memoranda where the president finds that there are certain portions of it that Parliament could have a look at. Now, then it would have to refer that to Parliament for those considerations to be dealt with, and then it will be brought back for the president to assent to it. Now, the point is that where the president fails, strictly so-called, fails to assent to it, two-thirds majority of Parliament can pass the bill into law. And it is the reason because Article 106 of our Constitution mandates Parliament to carry out with these legislative processes. I hold the humble view that once the bill is passed, and once the bill is passed, it cannot be reintroduced into Parliament to consider what, because it has gone through the stages, and it was not the situation where the president, acting through commentary from the Council of State and a memoranda giving the reasons for the refusal, had been put before Parliament to consider certain aspects of that particular bill. In the absence of it, the final stage is what it is, and it is for the president to sign. And if still the president fails to sign, then Parliament needs to, given two-thirds majority in Parliament, the bill there must be a vote by way of two-thirds majority for it to become law. Unless, of course, Parliament is not ready to carry out that particular step.
Right, but where do you stand, or perhaps let me just rephrase properly that, do you believe the Supreme Court should be entertaining an interpretation of the specific provisions we're speaking of, which reads that when a bill fails to pass before the life of a parliament, it dies with that? There are those who say that it is a subject matter of interpretation, hence must be headed towards the Supreme Court for some clarity so as to bring finality to the matter. Do you believe the Supreme Court should be entertaining this if that idea continues to be mooted around?
I don't think it is a necessary ambiguity, because it is clear that it was passed. It is different if it wasn't passed and it died with the immediate parliament. But the bill was passed and it got to the last stage, which is the assent. And just as I explained, the president acting through giving commentary and all of that could have referred it to Parliament within a stipulated time that look at these portions, and would definitely, in doing that, in referring it back to Parliament, it comes with reasoned explanation on aspects of the bill for Parliament to relook at. And when that is done, Parliament will do that and refer it back to the President for assent. In the situation where Parliament and the President fails to do that, Parliament, by resolution of two-thirds of all members, could override or compel the President to sign it within 30 days. So the position of the law is clear, and there's no constitutional ambiguity. But I mean, I'm speaking as a lawyer, and I hold this humble position. I believe sometimes probably there might be other overriding things that we might not be privy to, or politics is also playing out. But from a legal point of view, this is my humble position.
Right then, Counsel, we'll leave it here, but I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. That's Christian Mamhese. He's a private legal practitioner speaking to us on whether or not that controversial bill will require the processes to kickstart, or it's been passed already, hence must be headed towards the presidency for assent. Let us know what you think of this as well on our respective social media handles.
Now, the Appointments Committee of Parliament is this afternoon meeting to consider and agree on modalities to guide the vetting of Chief Justice nominee, Justice Paul Bafuboni. The Speaker of Parliament referred the nomination to the committee on Tuesday when the House resumed sitting. This was despite fresh applications by the former Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, who is praying the High Court to stay the hand of Parliament in considering the President's nomination for the position. I'll take you live to the legislature and find out how far this is at this time. Christian Yale is a reporter on the ground. Christian, good afternoon to you. What can you report from Parliament, particularly to do with the meeting of the Appointments Committee?
It is one that is going to be very interesting to watch, also because we know the minority side on the appointment committee, especially the ranking, who happens to be the minority leader, Alexander Seyomakin, has always held the view that the Primary Committee did not do a good job and has treated the former CJ unfairly. Even yesterday, during that engagement with the media, he reiterated that point and made some strong claims against the committee. And so we look forward to how this deliberation by the Appointment Committee is going to be. It's one that involves largely the members of the committee from both sides to consider the nomination of Justice Paul Bafuboni. What it means is that this preliminary meeting is more or less going to set the grounds or set the tone, after which later in the month or in the week, would have the appointment committee formally communicate a day and the time for the actual vetting of the new CJ, which is one that is already being contested in court. And so we look forward to how the minority side on the appointment committee would argue their case, or the kind of reservations or issues they might probably raise during this preliminary meeting that is coming up in some few minutes.
And Christian, to be clear, the acting Chief Justice will not be at this preliminary meeting.
That is one that we don't know exactly, but our understanding from engaging some members of the committee is that it is one that should be largely made up of just the committee members to just consider the nomination and also look at some of the issues that might have been presented to them concerning the nomination of Justice Paul Bafuboni as the Chief Justice. And so they are going to have this preliminary meeting to consider all of those cases probably that might have come before them, and then they would further look at the possible way forward concerning his nomination, and then report back to the House on the date that they would consider. But already, just like I'd always earlier mentioned, the minority side is of the view that if any decision must be taken on the vetting, then that should be after the High Court or even the ECOWAS Court has decided on the pending cases that are before these respective courts concerning the removal of the former Chief Justice and the appointment of the new one.
Well, Christian, yesterday was a very, very eventful day in Parliament. What are we to expect today besides this meeting?
All right, so today, basically, there are going to be a number of papers that will be laid by some of the ministers. There are a number of petitions as well from one actually from the Onion Drivers and Transporters Association about some charges that they are raising concerns against. And then after that, the local government and chieftaincy and religious affairs minister would have a number of audit statements that he would lay before the House. Largely, this is going to be the order of the day. But, Kemini, as always, you can never predict how exactly things are going to turn out to be. Like yesterday when we unexpectedly had that debate ensue concerning the reintroduced anti-LGBTQ bill. So we look forward to some of these surprises that may come on the floor. But largely, this is the budget meeting, and the House still awaits the finance minister to formally communicate to the House the date that he would propose to deliver or to present the 2026 budget, which already you have the finance committee, the economic committee, and other relevant committees already holding meetings to consider and to put or to make final inputs into the document to be presented by the finance minister.
Very well, Christian. Christian Yale is our parliamentary affairs correspondent. Now, we'll head to the courts where the criminal trial of former National Signals Bureau Director Kwabena Duboahing and his wife, Angela Ejay-Boateng, continue as prosecution's first witness is expected to submit her evidence in chief. The first witness, Ruby Edumwa, is the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau. Kwabena Duboahing and his wife, Angela, are facing multiple charges, including causing financial loss to the state and money laundering. Well, let's connect now with our court correspondent, Lord Iduasari. Lord, let's talk about this hearing today. What more can you tell us?
And so, even before that evidence in chief continuation will be done by the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau, the defense lawyers led by Samuel Sacha for Kwabena Duboahing indicated to the court that there's been a new development in that they have filed an application at the Supreme Court. Now, this application is for prohibition of the continuation of the trial. And so he was praying the court that today's proceedings be adjourned until the determination of the application for prohibition. He cited that the application will be heard at the Apex Court next week, but the prosecution led today by AC Denta, Principal State Attorney, indicated that no application whatsoever regarding to stay proceedings or whatever should not be countenanced because these are peculiar matters, and so that application by the defense lawyer should not be countenanced to stop the proceedings of today. Now, Samuel Attaché has cited some authorities to back his application for prohibition, for which reason he wanted the court to consider. But the presiding judge, Justice Nyante, said he wanted to further apprise himself with this application, and then the authorities that Samuel Attaché has cited. And so the court is presently on recess. When we are back, the judge will make a decision on whether the proceedings for today should continue or otherwise. But let me give you a background to why Samuel Attaché filed this application for prohibition at the Supreme Court. So at the last agenda, when we came during the testimony of Ruby Edumwa, the financial director at the National Signals Bureau, he tendered in some receipts that the former Signals Bureau director during his tenure at the place. Now, Samuel Attaché objected to that receipt, indicating that they constitute, he cited them as prejudicial and that they had a tendency to, as it were, affect the national security of the state.
Indeed.
Now, he indicated that that should not be countenanced, but the prosecution led by Dr. Justice Shremsai on the day indicated that it's not in the place of a private citizen to determine which documents will affect the...
Indeed, Lord, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much. Lord Edu Asare is our court correspondent. Next is By the Numbers. The price of gold is falling, and it's fallen fast across the world, down no more than 6% in just one day. Each ounce has lost about $360 in value, and the drop is already sending shockwaves through Ghana's economy. Now, gold brings in about 64% of the country's export earnings. So every shift in the global market is close to home. So far this year, Ghana's gold industry has been a major lifeline, earning more than $8 billion and helping to boost the nation's reserves as the Bank of Ghana continues to inject dollars to support the city. But with prices now sitting around $4,280 per ounce, the shine is beginning to fade. Now, if this trend continues, export revenues could fall, fewer dollars will flow into the system, and pressure could start to build again on the local currency. But let's get that by the numbers. And Mawuena will do just that. What are the numbers telling us?
Well, out of the many things, the question being asked is whether or not there's a certain level of over-reliance on our gold exports. And you can understand why, because prices have been in quite very great regions. Off the top of my head, I recall that somewhere in this month, it reached $4,000 per ounce, and that's gone up as well until this recent days of decline, which is raising concerns amongst experts and watchers of the market alike. But here's what we know in terms of what gold has been able to help us do in terms of export and export earnings. Between January to August of this year alone, we've been able to rake in near $18 billion in terms of export earnings, and in terms of import as well, we're in the regions of $11.8 billion US. The surpluses in terms of working the math, $6.19 billion US, and so exports 52% more than its imports in between January and August of this year. And what this means is that there's quite a lot of forex that's going to come through, and that is going to constitute one of the major reasons why the Bank of Ghana has been able to, as and when necessary, intervene in the forex market, and we'll get to see that a lot later as we continue down the way in this presentation. But in terms of the numbers or the commodities which have helped us chalk this near $18 billion in terms of export earnings, gold leads the way in quite very astronomical manner. 62% accounting for all of the $18 billion that we've raked in as a country between January and August of this year. Then there are some others. We have coke, we have shea, we have coffee, and some other commodities along this 14%. Then there is cocoa. It's a big foreign exchange earner for us as a country, has been for a very long time. And then crude oil as well, despite the concerns, not concerns actually, they're actually very legitimate development within the country's oil sector, where there's been a decline or a reduction in terms of production numbers. That still is bringing in quite the forex for us as a country, which is very important in helping to be able to stabilize the currency as we have it. But let's talk gold, and these are numbers we're getting from the gold board, to be specific, as to small-scale gold and gold exportation. As we've seen, just look at the months of May and September, where we crossed the $1 billion mark in terms of export earnings. And we're in the month of October. We're seeing some $530 million thus far. I'm sure as and when the month does come to its end, we'll get the full picture as to what it is that we've earned from gold as a result of export earnings. But so far, we've been able to rake in 8.6 billion 8.06, I should say, billion US from the small scale sector alone. And this, again, like I said, will establish why all of this is important as well. It plays an important role in import cover for us as a country as well, because as of now, we have 4.5 months of import cover. But this is why it becomes really important in terms of all of the forex that we're receiving and how it helps us to stabilize the currency. We know that the Bank of Ghana made available $1.15 billion intervening in the forex market, and we saw the cedi begin to perform creditably, moving from the ranges of 12.60 to now 10.79 as of the last time we checked from the Bank of Ghana's numbers this morning. That's where we are at. And even now, per what the governor of the central bank had to share over the weekend at that World Bank IMF engagement, the market is not even able to mop up the dollars they put out on the market. And so they put out 600 million at some point. Not all of that was picked up as well. And so, like I mentioned, this is where we are at in terms of the exchange rate as a result of the work done in terms of gold helping us to do that. Let's take all of this right now based on what we've been able to run you through and engage Dr. Edwo. He's an economist with the University of Ghana and as well the executive director of CPS, recently launched think tank, if I'm not mistaken. Doc, I appreciate you speaking to us this afternoon. We've seen the prices of gold on the international market begin to decline, albeit not so significant that the windfalls we've been enjoying becomes completely eroded. There are those who say there's a certain over-reliance on gold as a country since the onset of this administration. Hence, we should be wary as we began to see the decline. Is that legitimate, or there's still quite enough room for us to navigate through and to keep things afloat?
I don't think it's time to press the panic button. The drop in the price of gold, Ghana can still benefit if we increase volume, because the numbers that you mentioned are just value. You get the numbers by multiplying the price by the quantity that we produce. So if the price is dropping, you can still increase the volume and you will still get the value. Ghana has benefited, as you've already said, in terms for the past 3 years, our GDP growth has really been influenced by the gold production. We built reserves. Are we over-relying on gold? I don't think so. The fact that Ghana is well noted for a single commodity like the gold as a leading commodity does not mean we are over-relying on gold. There are so many things that we have gotten. I am of the view that we have not even gotten enough from the gold that we produce. We can get a whole lot from it.
by increasing our shares, by mining responsibly, by adding value to the raw gold that we mine. There's so many things that we can do to help get even more and more from the gold that we mine. There are other sectors of the economy which are also doing well. Agriculture and manufacturing and construction, education, health. So I don't think it's a question of our reliance, but it's a question of we being well known for a single commodity and how best we can get a lot from that commodity going forward. So no cause for concern in terms of a push of a panic button, like you say. But when you say we should increase the volumes, then it brings out the conversation about the roles of small-scale mining, the conversation about illegal mining and the likes. We're seeing a slowdown, if I can call it that, in terms of the gold that's coming through from the small-scale mining sector as a result of the clampdown on activities of illegal mining and the likes. Could that then, if that were ramped up by the government, begin to then cause a cause for us to have some concerns?
Yes, I mean, when you are managing an economy and you get to a point that things are not going as you expected, you have to change the gear. You have to look at the other areas. And here, it is time for us to stop depending on the raw material, because the figures that you mentioned are just raw material figures. And Ghana and many African countries are well known for exporting raw materials. It's time to stop our dependence on raw materials. Fair enough, if the raw gold is giving us 8 billion, thank God. But what about the manufacturing? The manufacturing can get that 20, 30, 50 billion. So let's now focus more on the manufacturing of the gold that we produce. How do we manufacture them, add value to them before we export them in the raw form? That should be the conversation now, and I'm sure the authorities will take it up as we go forward.
Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us. We'll leave the conversation here. That's Dr. Edu Ususakodi, is an economist with the University of Ghana, is also the executive director of CPS International, speaking to us this afternoon, bringing an end as well to By the Numbers here on News Central. But we'll go for a very first break. When we return, we're in the Ashanti region because workers at the Axelway station there are protesting what they say is mismanagement and bad leadership. We'll get all of the details if you stay with us here on the Bulletin.
Welcome back to News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor. We'll now take you across the regions where the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has reiterated that all illegal activities along the Volta River Basin will be fiercely fought. According to the ministry, the high concentration of harmful chemicals such as mercury, cyanide, lead, and other arsenic substances in water bodies is a threat to the survival of human and aquatic lives. At a short ceremony to inaugurate 130 water guard personnel, Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Yusuf Sulemana, cautioned the officers to perform their duties in the interests of the country. Well, let's stay a little longer on this story and engage Christopher Amwako, our regional correspondent. Chris, good afternoon to you. We know that serious mining activity is taking place along the Volta River with heavy chemical concentration. But let's talk about how dire the situation is where you are.
It's not easy at all because of the mining activities and where these miners are depositing these chemical substances into the river bodies, especially the black Volta. You know that from the Bamboy area to the Gulumpe area in the central Gondia district, this black Volta flows through that area. And serious mining activity taking place on the black Volta river in the Bamboy area. And so heavy chemicals are being deposited into the water body. This has become a matter of concern. You remember that for the past 4 or 5 years, this area, some operations have been taking place on the Volta River, but day in, day out, we have several chamfer machines on this water bodies with illegal miners heavily mining on this water body. Most of them are actually foreign nationals, and so it has become a matter of concern for residents because of the heavy chemicals that are deposited into the river body.
I see, Chris. We also know about the inauguration of the water guards today, and the deputy minister, so to speak, was there as well. What was that engagement and interaction like?
Yeah, so the minister has been cautioning these water guards because he believes that these Galamseyers have money to offer them as bribes so that they do not do their work as expected. And so he's been cautioning them that they should first of all see their work as in the interest of the country and not for their personal or individual interests. And so he's been cautioning them that, look, go there, do the work, ensure that the illegal miners that are destroying our water bodies by depositing mercury, cyanide, and other arsenic substances into our river bodies, which is dangerous to the human life and other aquatic life, do so by stopping them and not engaging in any bribery and corruption issues. Let's take a listen to what the deputy minister has been telling the water guards.
We, in the northern part of this country, especially in the Savannah region, we have the Black Volta running from upper west down up to Gulumpe. And there's a need for us to protect this water because we have seen some attempts by youth and also some coming from other neighboring countries to mine on the water. And so you have been recruited to work hand in hand with the police and the military here in the Bonnet district to ensure that people who are attempting, people who are trying to destroy the water bodies are chased out of those areas. They are flushed out. The assignment you have accepted is a huge one. You will be tempted with money. You will be threatened. And all kinds of threats will be meted out to you. If you know you cannot stand those threats and those motivational factors from these Galamseyers, especially those who are on the water bodies, you better own up. You are here to sacrifice for Mother Ghana. And so...
Well, Christopher, we'll end our conversation here. Thank you so much for the report. And Christopher Amwako is our Northern Region correspondent. Earlier was the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Yusuf Sulemana, who's just launched or outdoored over 100 water guards in that part of the country to protect the Volta River and fend off illegal miners.
Now, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, is expected to commission the Upper East Regional Passport Application Center today in Bolgatanga as part of efforts to decentralize access to normal Ghanaian passport. The Passport Application Center is one of few centers the Foreign Affairs Ministry has lined up to establish by the end of this year. Upper East Regional Correspondent Tanko Mohammed Rabiu is at the event. He's joined us live from there. Let's get details as to what's happening. Tanko, from where you are, what's the mood like at the ceremony, and has the process started or the ceremony started? Talk to us.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin. As you can see behind me, the program is still going on. The Minister of Foreign Affairs just finished his speech. The euphoria here is very touching because a lot of people are very excited because it takes about 6 hours to and fro to Upper East Region to Tambali, especially Tambali, which is closer. That is even about 6 hours to acquire their passport. So the commission of this passport today, passport application center today, is going to ease their suffering, especially their resources and their stress. A lot of them, I spoke to before the program, said they don't know what to say because they are very excited. At least the application center has come closer to their doorstep, Martin.
And you mentioned that the foreign minister has finished addressing the gathering. What did he say when he spoke?
Yeah, first of all, he thanked the Gulumpe Association for soliciting for funds to renovate the building behind the commercial bank here in Bolgatanga. That paved way for government to come and then establish the temporary passport. Though a new one is under construction, but for the meantime, this is a temporary one which will ease. The minister touched on this centralization of state institutions, which he mentioned that Passport Application Center is one of the institutions that can decentralize a lot of the institutions of government across the country for them to be able to get access to it. He talked about passport reforms, which the government has been able to, brought board, which has to do with the correct system, whereby if you apply your passport and it's completed, you don't have to come to the application center for it. They have to send it to you wherever you are. So he talked a lot about reforms that the government has put into place to make sure citizens across Ghana are able to have passport. And then ultimately he said it's a responsibility for every citizen of Ghana to have a passport, not a privilege. So for the need government has been able to decentralize the passport application centers across the regions, except the 6 newly created regions, which plans are far advanced to also establish those ones for people to be able to get access to it easily.
Thank you very much, Tanko, for those updates. That's Tanko Mohammed Rabiu, is my colleague in the Upper East region, bringing us details of newly launched passport office, which will aid in the acquisition of passport by Ghanaians there.
Now, workers at the axle load stations across the Ashanti region are protesting mismanagement against their leadership. Workers from Akom, Kwadaso, Adansia Sokwa, Buankra, Ejuso, way stations have collectively called on the President, John Dramani Mahama, to intervene and dismiss the manager to safeguard the integrity and operations of the facilities. The protesting staff accused the management of running the stations into a manner that undermines efficiency, transparency, and morale. Ibrahim Abubakar is our correspondent following this story. He's joined us with a bit more on this. Ibrahim, good afternoon to you. Let's look at the story and exactly what the concerns of the workers are.
Okay, so Kemini, some few months back, I think within the past 3-4 months, there
Well, it looks like we lost Ibrahim on that call. But we can take a listen to some of the stuff as they spoke to our cameras.
Come and take over. There's a lot of improvement is going on. But almost 1 week, we heard that Egbeta Kemini trained people from his constituency, wanted to send them to other stations to take over as supervisors over there. How come NDC took over? Egbeta Kemini collected 20,000 from each overload trucks. Go account for only 5,000. That person too is still at post. Wanted to manipulate the system again. Then we heard that we cannot sit down and that one person can destroy all the government for all this personal interest. No, that's why we are doing all these protests to notify everybody in Ghana who matters on these issues that they should call Egbeta Kemini to audit her.
Well, Ibrahim, these are rather wild allegations we've heard from that staff member there. What has management said in response to this?
Well, management say all these allegations are not true. For that matter, they are rather trying to bring in new persons because, like I was explaining, because of concerns about some operational lapses, the regional team from the National Security had to step in, conduct some investigation that even led to the subsequent takeover of the facility. And it was manned by this interim management committee. Now, the national executives want to appoint new supervisors and even new workers across board. And these people are saying that, these are the same people who are manhandling or mismanaging things over them. For that matter, they wouldn't allow them to come. But management is saying no, they've also done their checks, and for that matter, they believe that these are competent people who even add up to the revenues that are already being collected. Because for these workers, they believe that after the takeover, you compare the money that was being generated some 5 months back to what they were bringing, you could see at least 50 to 100% increment. But this team is also saying, yes, everything has been put together, and they will make sure that they will ensure no one is able to siphon any money into his personal pockets.
We'll leave her here. She continues to follow the story closely. Thank you so much. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti region correspondent. Now, we'll stay across the region because a simmering dispute in Gulumpe in Kintampo North municipality erupted into tragic violence this week, leaving 4 individuals critically injured. The unrest prompted the immediate imposition of a curfew and a massive security deployment to restore order. But the conflict has already forced a mass exodus of women and children and brought all local economic activity to a standstill.
Factory in Gulumpe tragically erupted into violence, leaving 3 sustaining gunshot wounds and 1 person getting stabbed with scissors.
As I speak with you now, it claims 3 people have had gunshots, but on record we have not. There is no death. We don't have anyone who is dead as a result of this incident.
This prompted immediate action from the security agencies, RECSEC, MUSEC, and traditional leaders to act swiftly in an effort to restore peace.
We are going to ensure that they comply to the fullest so that there will be total peace.
In totality, I can say that we are receiving good feedback, but we are not going to rest as RECSEC, we are not going to rest as MUSEC. We are going to do our best to make sure total peace is restored in the town.
Happily, both sides have agreed to lay down their arms. They've agreed to listen to everything. And I believe we want to make sure that nothing of this will happen again. Because this is the time that everybody needs peace for development.
The arrest, rooted in what officials suggest as a chieftaincy dispute, immediately prompted the Ministry for the Interior to impose a curfew on the community and its environs on Tuesday to restore order. However, the initial gunfire and subsequent fear have forced a mass exodus. Many women and children have fled, leaving the men behind to guard the community. The entire community is now almost a ghost town. Stalls, shops, and schools are all shuttered. Economic activity has ground to a complete standstill, effectively collapsing the local economy. Amidst the heavy security presence, residents have voiced a critical concern, urging the deployed forces to maintain strict neutrality. They stressed that the mission must focus solely on restoring peace and order, cautioning that any perceived bias could easily reignite the violence.
All we need is peace. Nobody should choose sides at this point. All we need is peace in the community.
The regional police commander, DCOP Odo Amanin, has since reassured the public of the security forces' impartial commitment.
I am telling them that if they have their people among the deserted, they should ask them to come back, because the security is very tight here, and we are ensuring that we provide security for all of them, for them to go about their economical activities.
Following the curfew rules, security operations in Gulumpe have led to the arrest of 2 individuals found in possession of firearms and ammunition.
I believe all the operations we carried out is in the direction to ensure peace in the community, and this is to deter others who are in possession of any ammunition from using it.
These arrests are in direct and immediate enforcement of the curfew orders, which explicitly include a total ban on carrying firearms, ammunition, or any offensive weapons. The orders clearly state that any person found with firearms should be arrested and prosecuted. This targeted crackdown is a vital step in de-escalating the volatile situation by removing illegal weaponry, demonstrating the security forces' commitment to stabilizing the area and preventing a renewal of the tragic violence. Even though calm is gradually returning to Gulumpe, residents who have fled the town are still yet to return due to fears of reignition of the conflict. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Gulumpe.
And that's our bulletin for you this afternoon. We came to you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Next is the afternoon show.